There's been a lot of jokes about the Pittsburgh Steelers going into this season. Their retirement home. They're gathering a bunch of infinity stones of players that are washed past their prime, and all they're going to get out of it is the same thing that they've gotten out of their teams in the last couple of years. They'll win 10, 11 games, and then they'll get their ass kicked in the first round of the playoffs. That couldn't be further from the truth this year. You can make all the jokes you want to about the Steelers being a retirement home this year, but this is a team that nobody should be underestimating this year. You get mad at Mike Tomlin for doing the same thing year after year and getting the same results, but then when he finally makes the decision to change some things around with the roster, such as getting rid of guys that were starting to decline, getting rid of the same core that hasn't won a playoff game in nearly a decade, all of a sudden, he's making a bad decision. When was getting a quarterback that threw 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions a bad pickup? Aaron Rodgers, despite his age, still is a top 15 quarterback in the league. And last year, the reason why the Jets didn't have a lot of success wasn't mainly due to Aaron Rodgers. It was due to the coaching being terrible and the ownership, the front office just going completely off the deep end. At Aaron Rodgers' age, he can only do so much when the situation behind him is a complete sinking ship. Going to Pittsburgh, playing with a head coach that has made it to the playoffs with quarterbacks that would have gotten anybody fired, the floor for the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers is incredibly high, and the ceiling is even higher. If Aaron Rodgers is even 80% of what he was before he joined the Jets, the Steelers could be a potential Super Bowl contender this year. Because now with Aaron Rodgers, not only is he going to help the Steelers have a competent offense and give them the best quarterback play that they've had in 5 years, but he also is going to help out the defense. You know, the Steelers have the most expensive defense in the NFL, and nobody seems to understand why it never looks like an elite defense near the tail end of the season and why they always struggle in the playoffs, when I think the answer is pretty simple. 1 + 1 = 2. If you have bad, inconsistent quarterback play and your offense is going 3 and out every doggone possession and the defense only has 45 seconds to catch their breath, and as soon as they get done hitting the Gatorade, they got to go right back on the field, of course they're going to get worn down and the play is going to regress. Having Aaron Rodgers makes the Steelers defense better because now they're going to have longer breaks on the sideline. They're not going to get as gas fast as what they were when they had Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Wash Russell Wilson at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback that the Steelers have had in half a decade. And as long as he's able to give the Steelers solid quarterback play, this is a team that is perfectly positioned to win a playoff game or two come January. Look, you can say all you want about how good the Baltimore Ravens are, but I promise you one thing. The last team that the Ravens want to see in the playoffs are the Pittsburgh Steelers, because nobody plays the Ravens better than what the Steelers do. Lamar Jackson's kryptonite is the Steelers when he sees them in the regular season. And the only reason why the Ravens stomped on Pittsburgh the way that they did this past year in the wild card round was because there was an obvious gap at the quarterback position. And Mike Tomlin has been at a disadvantage every time he's been in the playoffs the last couple of years because the quarterback play has been atrocious. You can't expect to win playoff games in a conference where you got to go through aliens at this position to get to a Super Bowl with low-hanging fruit like Mason Rudolph and a Russell Wilson that's past his prime. Even Ben Roethlisberger. Remember when he stunk it up against the Cleveland Browns and he had like 3-4 turnovers in the first quarter alone? How much blame can you put on Mike Tomlin for that? How much can you expect the defense to overcome that level of quarterback play? Aaron Rodgers is exactly what the Steelers need right now. He's going to be able to stabilize the quarterback position. And as long as you have stable quarterback play, you give yourself a fair shot to win, no matter who you're going up against in the postseason. Then you add Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay to form an elite secondary. Are they what they used to be? No, but they still are really good corners. Both Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey were top 15 cornerbacks last year. Darius Slay is a borderline Hall of Famer. He still has solid cornerback play in him. He was a starter on a team that just won the Super Bowl with a bunch of stud rookie cornerbacks, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and yet Darius Slay was still starting. In spite of how talented the Eagles were with so many stud young corners, Jalen Ramsey is not washed. He was the 15th best cornerback in the NFL last year, according to Pro Football Focus. The dude had more interceptions last season than what Minka Fitzpatrick has had in his last 2 years. You see, if you actually look at the advanced analytics and you watch the games and you just stop box score watching and you stop trying to judge players based off name, Jalen Ramsey is actually a better player right now than what Minka Fitzpatrick is, despite Minka Fitzpatrick being a few years younger than what Jalen Ramsey is. The Steelers didn't just move on from Minka Fitzpatrick for no reason. The guy has regressed, and it doesn't have anything to do too much with the scheme. This is the same scheme with Terrell Austin being the defensive coordinator that helped Minka Fitzpatrick become a 3-time All-Pro in Pittsburgh. Maybe Minka Fitzpatrick has just started to regress. Meanwhile, Jalen Ramsey is a Hall of Fame corner. And Hall of Fame players regress at a slower rate than what you see from the average player at their position. Jalen Ramsey, although he's in his 30s, he still is able to sustain a high level of play for the next 2-3 years because he's a Hall of Fame talent. Hall of Fame guys play a lot longer than what you expect them to. That's what makes them Hall of Famers. Some of the best players that ever played long after they were out of their prime. That's what makes a great player. LeBron has been dominating the NBA for how many years? The dude probably could keep playing basketball until he's 60 and still average 20 a game. I'm not saying that Jalen Ramsey is LeBron, but what I'm telling you is that age doesn't equal production like how you may think. Stop viewing the NFL like it's Madden. On Madden, when guys hit 30, they end up being trash. In the NFL, though, you can still be a very good player, although you're 30. 30 doesn't necessarily mean that you're old and washed. If you watch the tape, Jalen Ramsey is still one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. I'm not saying that he's elite. I'm not saying that he's still top 5 or top 10. I'm saying that Jalen Ramsey, with top 15 level cornerback play, is good enough for the Steelers secondary with Darius Slay, who is on the same level as what Jalen Ramsey is, and with Joey Porter Jr., and with Deshaun Elliott coming off a breakout season, is going to make the Steelers secondary better than what it's been these last couple of years. As good as what Minka Fitzpatrick has been, what has he gotten the Steelers in the playoffs? Nowhere. And that's the thing that irritates me with how the Steelers are being viewed. Yes, this is retirement home, but you have guys that have a ton of experience, which means that you're going to have a team that's going to make less mistakes and a team that won't beat themselves. People criticize the Steelers for continuing to do the same thing every year, but yet when the Steelers finally roll the dice, switch things up with the team that has a core group of guys that haven't done anything in January, all of a sudden they bring in a new nucleus, it gets criticized. They need to rebuild. I can't utter enough how disgusting the thought of rebuilding is for a franchise like the Steelers. None of the best teams in the NFL rebuild. Nobody goes into the season saying, yeah, we got to be ass on purpose so we can get a good quarterback. We need to trade all of our best players so we can position ourselves to get a good quarterback. There is more than one way to land a franchise quarterback other than intentionally throwing away the season to put yourself in position to do so. The Chiefs traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. The Bills traded up to get Josh Allen. The Ravens traded back into the end of the first to land Lamar Jackson. Do you find it funny how 3 out of 4 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, their franchises traded up to go get them? So why can't the Steelers do the same with them having 13, 14 draft picks in next year's draft? Just because the Steelers are retirement home doesn't mean that this is a team that's going to be an easy lock to be a first-round exit. If anything, this is a team that has the kind of experience and veteran leadership needed to finally end the Steelers' decade-long playoff drought. Yeah, they do have a few intriguing personalities, but you got guys that are passionate about the game of football, that want to win, that are going to put everything on the line to do so. And that's what the Steelers needed, because when the Ravens were kicking the shit out of Pittsburgh and Lamar Jackson was running around doing this thing, making a mockery of Mike Tomlin's defense, it was evident that Pittsburgh gave up. You're not going to have Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and Aaron Rodgers giving up, because they know everything that's on the line this year, and they still want to prove themselves. They still want to prove that they still have a lot left in the tank, and Aaron Rodgers wants to end his career on a high note. The Steelers' retirement home is going to shock the NFL this year. This, I guarantee you, would not be a one-and-done playoff team.